but socialism is all the rage with younger voters, the media, and just about every Democratic candidate for president, despite the fact that it's failed everywhere it's ever been tried. Why is socialism so popular? Well, there are three important reasons. One, socialism indoctrination begins young and is happening in the school systems. It's absolutely blatant. Number two, the media has embraced socialism. And number three, the third reason, is that the gains of capitalism have been uneven and wealth disparity has grown dramatically in recent years. In other words, people now think that capitalism is unfair. Those pushing socialism promise fairness while playing up class warfare. The stated goal is to provide free college, Medicare for all, and to generally share the wealth. Socialists promote a Green New Deal that would certainly bankrupt our nation with a $93 trillion price tag. No one proposing this stuff looks at the costs. There was one climate proposal recently that sounded good, but would cost average families about $75,000 per year. That's more than the average family makes. The promises sound good, but the reality would be disaster. And it can get really ugly when people want to see others hurt just to make things fair. As one example, a journalist and a college professor recently wrote about how happy it would make him to see white people homeless and begging for food. This kind of ugly class hatred can degenerate quickly, destroying societies as it did in the French Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, the Nazi takeover, and countless other socialist failures. The one area where the democratic socialists do get it right is that wealth disparity has worsened and present trends are unsustainable. We agree on the problem, but we absolutely disagree on the solution. Socialism does not solve the problems of unequal prosperity. It just makes it possible to share poverty equitably. And that should never be the goal. The problem is that in recent years, we've not seen uniform income gains. The rich have gotten richer, but the poor and middle class haven't seen much progress. There's a well-known money manager. He's made billions. His name is Ray Dalio. And he gave a decent summary of this problem in an article he wrote titled, "Why and How Capitalism Needs to be Reformed." Here's what Dalio said. He said, "I think that most capitalists don't know how to divide the economic pie well, and most socialists don't know how to grow it well. Yet we are now at a juncture in which either A, people of different ideological inclinations will work together to skillfully re-engineer the system so that the pie is both divided and grown well, or B, we will have a great conflict that some sort of revolution will hurt most everyone and will shrink the pie." Based on Federal Reserve data and according to the People's Policy Project, over the past 20 years, the wealthiest 1% in America have seen their wealth grow from $8.4 trillion in 1989 to $29.5 trillion today. That's the wealthiest 1%. But the bottom 50% have actually watched their combined $700 billion in wealth not only turn down, but to a negative $200 billion. In other words, over the last 20 years, the bottom 50% have gone from being slightly well off to actually being in the hold. This is unsustainable. Does this mean that capitalism only benefits the wealthy at the expense of the poor? Well, that may be true over the past 20 or 30 years with the advent of the computer age and globalization. It is not true over the longer run. In fact, the advent of capitalism has done more to alleviate extreme poverty than anything else in history. Take a look at this chart. Then consider these words from Deirdre McCloskey in the New York Times. Not all of us are rich. Yet, of course, 1 billion or so people on the planet drag along on the equivalent of $3 a day or less.